All right, greetings and welcome back once again. Imuna Israel Love Project Underground series, the last one before the final episode 9 of season 2. I'm a little bit tardy, so please excuse my tardiness. I was in a whirlwind after Wednesday, but Wednesday's episode. So shout out to those who have been tuning in, who just started watching the series, who's been watching the series, who's been listening to. There's a whole lot of other underground reviews that you could possibly listen to. So I want to thank you for listening to this one. Yeah, everyone that like I told you guys, I'm watching in this watch group now. I used to do it on Twitter. It was a little fragmented for me, so the watch group makes it more coherent. And I'm just observing. Not only am I observing the show, but I'm observing the responses of the people who are watching the show. And because the show was staggered, again, if you know Soulonomics Left Project, it's all about Soulonomics Left Project is all about observing history and seeing how we can better ourselves through the knowledge that we have acquired about history. And so as I'm watching everyone feel uncomfortable because they're lost in what's going on in the way in which episode 9 was shot, I was kind of laughing to myself, like, if we would just wait and see what's going on instead of, like, what's going on? Oh my goodness, I'm so confused. And so what I gathered or gleaned from the episode is that it's kind of like how life is, in the fact that it was staggered. So it's showing you what happened before the person entered the scene. It's showing you, it's showing you context, basically, what led up to that conversation. And so many scenes were shot from different angles and interpretation based on who that main character of that scene was. So for instance, you see Cato's character. He's in the safe house. You see his interaction with Harriet's character, and then you see Cato listening into Elizabeth and Georgia having the conversation. So you saw that at the beginning, but in the end, you got the context of the conversation. And so in life, that's kind of how it makes us confused when we only come into one portion of what's actually going on. But if we're patient, and if we're willing to wait, and if we're willing to move through that feeling of being uncomfortable, a lot of what we're looking to understand, we will get. But if we interrupt the process, and it's not saying that questions don't have a place, but a lot of times we get more confused because we're asking questions in the middle of whatever it is that we're doing, and we're missing things as it's going on. So with that said, I just thought that part was telling of how we are. It's kind of like I have children, so the children do the same thing, and I'm like, adults act very much like children, where we try to act as though we're so grown up and adult, but the moment there's a clink in the system or we're not following, our system starts fragging, we start spazzing out. But I wanted to go to Noah because I'm in a little bit of disagreement. Let me know about your conversation concerning Noah and his response to Rosalie. I don't know if it was me, others in the watch group was like, oh, I don't agree, this, that, and the third. But Noah's response, if you look at Noah from season 1, Noah was gung-ho, and life has kind of tempered him in, flying by the seat of his pants and just thinking freedom is just getting there. And so he's getting a reality check as he grows in his character. And he's really upset with the fact that Rosalie took from him the opportunity to make the choice as to whether or not he would return back into slavery. Remember when he's having this conversation with Cato a few episodes ago, and Cato's like, well, are you still that kind of, are you still gung-ho? Are you still about it like that? You still live that life? And when push came to shove, he was like, nah, I'm not going back. And so you have to keep in mind that things have changed for him, especially because he's kind of disconnected, and now Rosalie is the only family now that he's been intimate with her in this space, and now he's trying to go back and marry her and build this house. So she's kind of his hope, and he feels a little bit betrayed by her in not giving him that opportunity to say yay or nay. Once again, this is the same person who left her family. So he accused her of being selfish, and everybody's like, I'm not all the way there with Noah. This is just my personal observation. He accused of her being selfish and just like a slave master father. And I'm like, there were many times in the whole conversation, in the whole what's the word I'm looking for? Although he tried not to leave anybody behind, like for instance, Cato felt like he was selfish when he felt like he was gonna get caught, and he threw back the dagger and then left Cato to fend for himself. And so in this space where everybody is vying for survival, they're still in that space, and this is what, in my estimation, has compromised without objectively looking at the situation, the relationship of the melanated woman and man, because both are still in survival mode. And even in this survival mode, he's saying, you owe me still much more than I owe you. And that's just my observation. Meaning, in season 1, when they were trying to survive and they realized that Rosalie could swim. And that's why I had to ask the people, does anybody remember when Noah was going to try to swim to safety on Rosalie's back? Not only him, Cato, and Henry. Somebody else told me his name was Henry. I forgot his name. That none of the men on the boat could swim. It wasn't selfish for them to assume that this one female was going to carry the weight of 3 melanated men because they lacked the skills and abilities to get them to freedom. And so when she left her family and now she meets up with Harriet Tubman's character, whose whole steez is about not just being free for yourself, but also being free and getting others free. When you look at the context of the conversation, yes, I agree, she should have given him an option. But many people were operating just the same way Cato's character is operating out of his very survival. When he was negotiating on behalf of him and the East Indian, and she was like, yo, I'm not gonna let you do that, enslave other people on my behalf. He said, cool, I'm gonna go for Dolo. So everybody's still trying to survive. That's kind of my point. And so I think, possibly Noah's character, yes, he reacted in a way that, like you said, he was fearful, but so was she. You know what I'm saying? Where she got shot at. You know what I'm saying? Where she's on the bank with snakes coming at her. And she's thinking to herself, how can I leave my parents or my mother back in this situation? How can I leave my younger brother? And so he's saying she was only thinking about her family, but the reality is he was only thinking about his, meaning Rosalie and the baby. And so how do we make one more selfish than the other? I don't know. That's just my thoughts. Let me know what your thoughts are. Again, everything was fragmented. Elizabeth is turned up. I know I said a few episodes that she was somebody to watch because I was kind of unsure which way she was going to fall with the conversation after her husband died. But it looks like she'd fallen to the side of, I'm not going to go peaceably. And so you see her character and Georgia having to secure this. So that's one last thing I wanted to say. In the abolition movement, this movement, there was 2 different thoughts. There was the one, and that's kind of what the line that Elizabeth is towing. There was the peaceful thought, that's to say, you know what, we're going to petition, we're going to do this, we're going to change parliament. And then there was the John Brown thought, the rebellious thought to say, no, we can't do all of those things. They don't understand all of these things. We have to go, body for body. And so that's kind of where you see Elizabeth is like, I'm not. And you see that Cato was kind of the one who kind of like pushed her over the edge. And then you saw that conversation from different angles. So with that said, that's my underground review. Definitely let me know your thoughts. As I said, always thank you for tuning in. Feel free to share the videos and do all the things you do. And continue to have positive community conversations. My name is Amuna Yisrael. This is Soulonomics 101. Bless.